Hey, what's going on everyone? So in this video, I want to go over the rating system that I will be using when reviewing shoes. So let's talk about the three main criteria I will be looking at. So I'm going to be looking at the upper, the midsole, and the value of the shoe. And the reason why I didn't include the outsole here is because honestly, in today's market, you would have to do something pretty egregious or offensive to really have a call out on the outsole, and that's where I think the value will come in, because if an outsole doesn't work for a shoe, that means that either the durability isn't there or you're going to be slipping and sliding in any kind of inclement weather, whether it's like raining or snowing, which would make the shoe unusable. So I just figured I would clump it into the value versus having its own standout place. So for the actual rating system itself, it's going to be based off of a 1 through 10 scale. So we'll just start right up at the top. So the 10, that is going to be unique to you as an individual, or in this case for me, and what my preferences are for a shoe. And I'll call that out as I do the review. So you'll see here in some reviews shortly where I'll be calling out some of those nuances if something is a 10 or not. And so from here, let's go talk about the 5. So 5, perfectly average shoe. There's nothing inherently wrong with it, but there's also nothing inherent to call out about it. So you can think of something like the more traditional daily trainer, like a Nike Pegasus, right? Where it's pretty average all around. There's no real standout feature. And being average isn't a bad thing. I think it's something that a lot of people get caught up in, where if you say something's average, you're saying it's bad, but 5 is truly just a neutral number. It's not bad, it's not good, it's just average. It's just there. It can work, right? That's what average is at the end of the day. So from here, let's talk about the 6 through 9. So from a 6 to an 8, those are basically going to be a +1 for any of the categories and the value that it provides. So for example, if we're talking about the midsole, what would make it a +1? Let's say it's something like the geometry of the shoe. It's got a really nice rockered feel, so that could be a +1. But then what if it has a rockered geometry that works really well for most, and then it also has a really good foam? That would then be a +2. Okay, well, so what would make it an 8 then? So an 8 from there would then be, it could be, again, the geometry, the foam itself, and then we can even start talking about things like medial stability and if it can appeal to a wide audience. So once it gets up to an 8, the real important call out here is between an 8 and a 9. A 9 is something that should work for 90% of people. It's something that most people should get along with, barring anything like any crucial needs like stability, like something like a gel Kayano, for example. So that's really the important difference between a 9 and a 10. 10, super unique to the individual. A 9, the penultimate shoe offering that most people will get along with. And so an example I could think of that might be a 9 in some categories could be something like the Dynafish Xiaoyun, right? That's a very popular shoe and it's been of massive appeal to everyone. You just have to respect that midsole is a 9. So from here, let's talk about the other end of the spectrum. So a 1 or a 2, those aren't actually even going to be considered in the rating, because if it's a 1 or a 2, that means that there is something so poorly designed about this shoe, whether it's the upper, the midsole, and you can't even really do it from a value standpoint, because if it has a 1 or 2 for the upper and the midsole, then there is zero value to it, right? So really, it's going to be focusing on that 3 and the 4. So the 3 and the 4, the way you want to look at those, or how I will be rating them, is really going to be focusing on, okay, so there's something here that is an inherent flaw in the shoe. So let's say, for example, an upper that is really loose and your foot can't get locked down no matter what you try to do. So for example, for me, I lace lock all of my shoes just to make sure my ankle is secured, because I have very small ankles. So that might be something like a 4, where it's like, even if I do my lace lock, the upper is not staying secure, that's gonna give it a 4. And then a 3 is something that makes it wildly unusable to a lot of people, for example, right? So you can think of something like I personally don't feel this way, but something like the Adidas Hyperboost Edge, that's something that was super controversial when it first came out because a lot of people were saying they were having some Achilles rub issues. The way the upper was set up, it just didn't work for them, and as much as they liked the midsole, that upper was poorly designed for a lot of people. So you could say something like that, for example, might be a 3. Again, we'll go through the nuances when we actually do reviews, but I just wanted to give some quick examples of where some of these ratings may be applied today. But of course, when I actually do a review, I'll give you my perspective on that and where they actually sit in the grand scheme of things. So with that being said, that's the rating system, and I hope you guys enjoy the videos.